All right, so best of 5 finally starting up here, guys. Catching the end of the European Open Cup. Clem defeated Spirit to get here, and Reynor defeated Max Pax to get here. In the top left, it is Clem. In the bottom right, it is Reynor. Reynor has not been having a super great time. He is still absolutely one of the favorites to make it to the finals of an Open Cup, and absolutely could win it. It's just that he really hasn't. Is there any better way to put that? He gets to the finals, but like so many others, Clem generally is the one that wins against him. Reynor loses against Clem, Max Pack loses against Clem, Herobrain loses against Clem, Spirit loses against Clem, Showtime loses against Clem. Almost everyone loses against Clem more often than they beat him. But every so often they do win. So it's not a total shutout, you know. And recently, it was a fairly convincing 3-1 in favor of Clem. Before that, it was a 3-1. And before that, it was a really weird week where Clem actually got 0-3'd by Reynor in some of the worst games I've seen him play, actually. Not to be too harsh, but they really weren't. That wasn't a good week for him. It wasn't a good finals for him. But in general, Clem is very much favored versus Reynor these days. Very much. That 0-3 is the one best of victory in something like 12 or 13. So, I would actually say basically before mid-2022. Yeah. It was more back and forth. But actually, as far as their overall scores go up against each other, Clem has been favored for a while. I guess just going back to when Reynor popped off and Clem was still just an up-and-comer. Reynor technically has the match advantage, 49-51 in their entire history. But the change has definitely been since something like COVID, I guess. But in 2020, and then, it's 43-27 in favor of Clem. So there you go. Anyway, just talking about the history because we are expecting a very big macro game to start things off with, obviously. They could end in the mid-game. Reynor could do one of his lower drone, kind of lane-based dedication. All lane off 4 bases always sounds weird, but that's kind of what it is. That's what was really effective that week that he did 3-0 Clem. Clem, we just expect 3CC every single time. Just what he does. But he can win as soon as he gets powered up on 2 medevacs. We have seen that, so... Not much to talk about for the first 5.5 minutes, as that is when things usually get going. Generally by the Terran player. Don't get a husky if you want to have a calm life. As much as I love the look of huskies, I would never actually adopt one. It's way too much work. Talking about adoptions, pet adoptions with the chat earlier on for those who are watching this on YouTube. We're looking to get another cat. Crazy cat ladies. Alright, so Clem's 3cc opener is now turning into a bit more of a 2-1-1, but he does have the Cyclone and Hellions opening first, so you don't go immediately into it, but it is second barracks. So pretty quickly. And a little bit of pressure, which I always am apprehensive about the Cyclones coming out first, but Clem still does it, and Clem would know best, but oh my god. This works 10% of the time, I swear. Other times it just gets surrounded by these Lings. The Lings aren't looking for the surround of the Cyclones, they're looking for the run-by. 2 more Hellions are already halfway done, so I'm not sure this will be super effective. Clem is paying attention. Alright, so he tapped the 3rd hatch and then went back, actually. And with the 2 Hellions popping, this will be the Marines dying. And, well, a couple of SCVs should die as well. Oh, yeah, there you go. Just all of a sudden, 3 die. There we go. There we go. A little bit of a scout from those Lings as well. We do have Reynor with the Roachborn behind this, and that is the real critical piece of information right now. Reynor is not going to play Clem's game. He's going to try and control the situation, if not just straight up win with this attack, of course. That would be the best case scenario. Lings and Roaches on the way, and Clem still has, I wouldn't say no idea, actually, but did he pay attention right there? So he's dealing with Lings harassing him once more. And that makes me question if he's paying attention to the lack of drones. Even though it's a very obvious tell, sometimes you're too focused on other things, especially if you're being harassed, that you just don't pay attention. And I think that it's 100% what's happening right now. Clem realized that he's having so much trouble with the Lings already that it's very unlikely he's even thinking about dealing with a follow-up attack. And I think Reynor is going to get a very cheeky, very easy Game 1 victory. His roaches are already building into Ravagers, and Clem still, I don't think, actually has a clue. I just don't think he's thinking. And I know that sounds bad, but that is going to happen occasionally. But even if he was, what exactly could he do? He could have canceled his reactor on his factory and built a tech lab instead and had a tank on the way. It would not be done. By the time it was finished, the natural wall's dead and the main base would be under attack. So that is not even necessarily helpful. He really had to pick up on this far sooner. And I will just tap out. So yeah, very, very quick and easy Game 1 victory for Reynor there. The really key thing, 100% in my mind, is that he was very good at distracting. There's a possibility that Clem is so focused on his own micro, because he does have that happen. I think we've all seen it, where he is so focused on doing the damage that he does sometimes miss out on scouts. So he either doesn't think about what he's seeing, or he literally just isn't at the base of which he needs to scout. That happens. But obviously, if you can also distract your opponent, you really up the chances of them not realizing you could be all-inning. Very quickly into Game 2 on Equilibrium. Top left, Liquid Clem. Top right, Basilisk Reynor. Quickly go over the fact that this is a Zerg favored map, but Clem always lets it through in a best of 5, so he prefers it over Radaset, basically. And so he does have a lot of his famous victories on this map, so I don't even really hold it against him in particular, even though there's definitely good reasons why Zerg is favored on this map. Reynor should be pretty happy with the way things have gone. His plan was really quite perfect. The big distraction of the Lings really, really worked out. They were already a very good run-by. Like, even if it wasn't a follow-up all-in, that was already a very good run-by. But it did totally distract Clem, so he wasn't prepared for the follow-up. And now you can try and build off that momentum in a really perfect world. You would go into something like a either early all-in again, or get that early gold base, kind of force the Terran to work around how they want to deal with that, and then do whatever the hell you want to do, which could include, again, one of those like 60-ish drone, just Ling floods that Reynor was using very well about a month ago. And Clem, I'm going to go for 1x expanse, not changing things up for him. I don't think he ever goes the forward 2 racks on Equilibrium, actually. Yeah, I don't think so. And sometimes he just has a full best of 5 where he just never goes for the forward 2 racks. It appears that he is wary of things that Reynor can do now, so he is going to bother SVV scouting based on their history. So I'm trying to use facts, not feelings. Based on their history, it is actually correct to say, as good as Reynor is, that Clem is the better macro player. He is the better player overall. And so, when you SCV scout, you do hurt your economy just the tiniest little bit. And if you think that you're really even, or if you think that you're outmatched, that might not be worth it. But I would say that that is true. There are cases where obviously that doesn't really matter. They could be perfectly matched in someone SCV scouts, and it's not like that's the reason they lost the game, you know? But I do think it's kind of something that you see someone who's confident in their later game skills do, and are really just paranoid of the early attacks, which even though Clem SCV scouted was no more prepared for this Ling attack. It was a lot of Lings. 8 Lings produced to do this is actually a lot to handle. So while, 4 Lings can actually be handled by 1 Marine with really, really, really good control, you let them into the main base and then the SCVs get pulled and it's really good. 8 Lings is something entirely different. So that delays the command center. That almost kills the SCV. That kills the Marine. That kills the reactor. This is a lot of damage. Obviously, the Reaper gets brought back. Now, this is, again, the benefit of the SCV scout, because let's say this SCV scout fails its job as far as warning you about the 8 Lings. It is what it is, right? The 8 Lings appeared faster than the SCV did. It at least would do a good job of scouting the follow-up. So here it sees still that there is no third hatch, and that's getting more and more suspicious, but it didn't see roaches. And now the actual scout, the Reaper, comes in to further confirm no more roaches. Or no roaches at all, actually. So there is that. Like, it still kind of sucks, though, because you SCV scouted, which already, as I said, takes away a little bit of economy. Then you still get the most surprise you could by a lot of lings, though. So there is that Zerg perspective, which is like, well, hold on, that's 8 lings, that's 4 larvae, that's 4 less drones, right? And that is absolutely true, because if you knew that Clem was going to just 1 Reaper, 1 Rax expand, then you could even try and get away with no ling production. So that is certainly worth considering. But I would say with the amount of damage he did, again, Marine killed, SCV killed, big delay in the command center, Reaper brought home, and the reactor got killed as well. I think it's pretty freaking good. I would be certainly very annoyed, and you cannot forget the annoying aspects of things in StarCraft 2. Clem is continuing with a safer opener. Obviously, last game, his build also did not give him a lot to work with as far as the defense of a Ling Roach Ravager attack, as he went into the second barracks, and frankly, just don't get a critical mass of Marines to kill such an army fast enough. So that's the real conundrum there. But if he had scouted, he could have, again, tried to maybe even produce Cyclones, or as I said, added a tech lab, something like that. But what really makes you very safe is an SCV scout with the Reaper keeping itself alive, plus the Banshees. That's pretty much the safest thing you can do as a Terran player. There's still a chance that any of these units do not see the incoming Lings, the incoming Roaches, and the damage is still done, case in point. But generally, this is the safest thing to do. And this is, yeah, kind of what Reynor was doing, not going into the low drone, high Ling flood economy quite yet. Why are drones dying? Oh, this Banshee was actually, okay. But generally, this is what Reynor was doing to really catch Clem off guard and get that 3-0 a month ago, is that he was sending a lot of his usual defensive units in an offensive manner, which sometimes is a bad thing. This looks great right now, but keep in mind that there is a chance, for instance, that these Hellions barbecued an entire mineral line because the Queens were slightly out of position and the Lings were offensive, not defensive. So it's something you got to worry about for sure. And as always, when it comes to the Zerg economy, it's not drones. So it is something to worry about. But it does really offset Clem's control over the game, which is usually his like biggest strength, is that he uses all these units that give control to any Terran player technically, but only really if the Terran player has good control of the units themselves. So it's like technically even a Gold League player going for Hellion Banshee would have control of the map, but like, what does that really mean? Whereas with Clem, this could be devastating if not appropriately defended. And the Banshees have actually already paid for themselves, I would say. Don't want to lose one, of course, but if he had lost one, I still would have given that a pass. It keeps both alive, and they have killed at least 8, if not all 9 drones, actually. Clem's 3rd CC is now done. He's kind of picking up on Reynor's aptitude for run-bys, so he's keeping his Hellions at home, plus he's repairing them. And he does have his 5 barracks now situated, going up to 7. I'm counting this right? So yeah, it's usually 5 and then 8. But he's going into 7 much faster. Like, that's if you're 8 racks, I should say. But he's going into 7 fairly fast, so he might be foregoing that second factory and going into heavy bio pressure. So he's still got a 4 CC, but you don't have a second factory. And what he's certainly not doing is a fast 4th CC. That much is 100%, right? No, he is getting second factory. Okay. Because I was going to say, even if you're going into like heavy bio pressure, let's say it's 8 barracks. Just no second factory, but it's interesting. It's an interesting twist. So he's really delaying his 4th command center. A lot of times Clem will go into 3 CC, yes, but then 50% of the time, I think he'll also go into a 7-minute 4th, but clearly not the case here, which is something that Reynor is going to want to pick up on. He has no guarantee, but oftentimes the 4th would be here. So if there's no 4th, then what exactly is being done? Reynor is at 69 drones, but it's not the most amazing. It's not 80, obviously. But the gold is kind of making up for that too, keep in mind. He is getting additional hatcheries, which also are going to be additional production facilities, as he is going very, very heavy on the Ling Baneling, and he is looking to be aggressive. So this is still somewhat similar to what he was doing. It's just with a couple more drones. Definitely not as dedicated, shall we say. Problem right now with the lack of upgrades. That is going to be fixed in 12 seconds as the attack is actually getting set up here, and Clem has no idea about the awaiting Ling Baneling so aggressively placed on his side of the map, and that is the problem right now. He's got no scout, he's got no feelers to actually see that. One Woodamine ready for run-bys, but not necessarily a humongous Ling Baneling run-by. Woodamine did some pretty decent damage, and Marines are clogging up the natural, but only for so long. More units spilling forth here as Clem realizes he does have to return home. He's going to try and mitigate the damage by pulling the SCVs and splitting them, and the main base is going to be properly protected. All in all, not enough damage as of yet. This was a big commitment from Reynor that has actually only killed 3 SCVs and probably like 5 Marines, actually. More SCVs going down onto the 3rd CC, and actually the Baneling's going to pose a big problem. They will not go after the SCVs. There they go. No, there it is. There it was. It was a yes, then it was a no, then it was a yes. 20 SCVs do go down as the SCVs were pulled into a very unfortunate scenario. No escape over to the right side is kind of the bummer about the supply depot walls, and with so much going on. It's very, very, very difficult for even Clem to micro his Marines, micro his SCVs, micro his workers, micro his Woodamines, micro his medevacs, and micro the supply depot lift. That's hard. So 20 SCVs is better. But actually, with the 4th Command Center finishing, this was one of the things that happened in the last time this was like feeling good for Reynor. The 4th Command Center was canceled in the game that went well for Reynor. And that was really important, because it was so difficult for Clem to replace a 4th because he had lost so many SCVs alongside it. This actually finishing means that probably was not enough damage from Reynor. And Reynor is having a macro problem at this point as well. 1,500, 1,800 minerals in his pocket. Despite having a lot of hatcheries, he actually never made a macro hatchery. And I don't know if he's missing injects as well. He's not, but it's so many lings that he has to produce. And I think Clem adding on the extra 2 barracks probably also really helped give him just a little bit more in terms of army supply than Reynor was expecting, or was hoping for. Again, Reynor might have picked up on the later 4th base, but yeah, this is bad news for Reynor. It really is. He'd look a lot better if he could spend 1,600 minerals. Even then, his technology really wouldn't be comfortable. He is nowhere close to getting to a hive, and he is very far behind on the 2-2 upgrades. But it'd be better if he could spend his minerals. 2 Banshees appearing on his side of the map again as well, no longer feeling the need to play defensive, as Clem is now the one applying all the pressure. Woodamine, kind of friendly fire as well, but mostly took out a chunk of lings. And Clem is just, oh no, Marines run away right there. Banelings on the hunt. And it looks like Clem reads the situation correctly, knows that he can tuck himself into the corner. 1 Baneling trying to get close enough to actually do the damage, and it will hit. But that was still a cost-efficient trade, as almost all the medevacs were able to escape, and a handful of Marines. Oh boy. The Banelings came in from the north. I wasn't expecting it. Clem wasn't expecting it. That was almost a straight-up disaster. That was almost to get back in it for Reynor. But unfortunately, it wasn't actually the case, and now Clem is comfortably on 4 bases, working on 5th on location, and just, again, has that control over the game. This is when he really feels the most powerful. Reynor is finally starting to use up some of his resources. He's been trying to also build Hydras, which is a little bit more larva-friendly, but the gas was actually capping him for a while. Seems to have been fixed now. His gold base is starting to run out, though, so keep that in mind. Right now, we're talking about a bank problem, so it's funny to talk about the amount of mining that he has problem, but eventually that bank will be used, and it's actually kind of even more helpful in deceiving the player. Because you're like, I have a bank, gotta use it, and you're not paying attention to the way your drones are mining, and suddenly drones aren't mining off a gold base. That's a shot of adrenaline you no longer have. Plus your bank dissipates, and you're like, wait, what happened? Where did everything go? So we're just gonna keep an eye on that, as the macro hatchery, I guess, was eventually built, or maybe I just missed it. It is possible. It still wasn't enough to spend all the money, though. And now it's dead. So, even more problems with the money later on. Drop will escape, no problem. That's pretty large Zerg force. But the focus fire will come in, because Clem can. And Clem will. Planetary on the 5th base coming through. Some Widow Mines helping to guard against this potential attack path to the south. Really like that. Because even though it won't kill everything here, it's still a really nice heads up. Not that that was enough to kill a planetary anyway. And speaking of running out of gold, Clem also going to run out of gold pretty quickly too, because he did mule it initially. Now he should be muling the blue minerals, I guess. Oh, that was a good one of mine shot. Look at all that green. That was all the Banelings got shot right there. Big ball of bio. Decent amount of one of mines. Now we got Ghost coming in here. 3-3 is done to Reynor's simple 2-2. No hive in sight. No hive in sight. Infestation bit's done, but no hive begun. Despite Reynor still having a pretty big bank, and you really gotta wonder. There's some moments here where Clem was in a little bit of trouble. It didn't quite have enough units on the front lines. If Reynor had been able to have all of his army together and the resources spent on Army 2, could he have changed the momentum of this game? Maybe. Finally gets a big surround on the army and forces Clem entirely backwards. But remember that Clem does have planetaries to fall back to if things really get tough. This is a promising moment as even a couple of medevacs are shot at from the Hydras. That is a pretty successful Terran escape, though, overall. Lots of Widow Mines to fall back to, as well as those planetaries, and again, the Ghosts. So whenever Reynor thinks he has a moment, but then he oversteps, he tries to retreat, slam, slam, slam. Hive is finally on the way. Lurkaden's on the way. We do have that transition in mines, but Clem is at a very comfortable place to handle the initial lurkers, unless he gets caught by surprise. Gets caught out of position, which is definitely Reynor's goal, as he continues to try and aggress forward. Oh, another one of mine splashes off. He's trying to find that moment in which Clem has too many units in too many different places, and then he catches a really good surround, and he catches him not looking. It has not happened. Clem in control of the situation. Has kind of fallen back more to a main army type of of engagement, which is fine. It's just there's no other distractions here for Reynor, who still is having trouble with his army. He's got a Baneliness on the way. Did you think he lost it? Oh, maybe he did lose it. That's actually just finished. Maybe he did lose it, and I just totally missed it. That's pretty important. It looks like the gap of which he did not have a Baneliness did not affect him tremendously. There is the Nidus Worm. Gonna put those lurkers into that and try and hit the main base. No, nothing actually positioned yet to position Nidus Worm. And sensor towers are kind of helping to stop that as well, but... Alright. Down. My cat is on my computer, which is probably not good for its FPS. But she's kind of spicy, so... Get down. She's just hissing at me. Anyway, we got Shark Festers on the way. Attack is actually reaching Reynor's base. Oh no, the fungal, but also the Widow Mines! Both were pretty freaking good. Clem able to escape with most of his units. Same not said for Reynor. He is adding on his 3-3, his lurker upgrades, his adrenal glands, finally using up a lot of that supply. He's waiting for a bigger number of lurkers, perhaps, to get into that Nidus Worm. He actually just still needs a place to put the Nidus Worm, though. Infestor waiting for the perfect hit. Not finding it yet, and actually I think that just got scanned. So Clem not having to worry about a back attack from the fungal is controlling the attempted aggression there from Reynor very, very well. Clem also has a 6th base of the planetary, by the way. His gold is mined out, but so is Reynor's. And it is now an issue of Reynor having enough resources to play out a long game versus a Terran. I don't think he does. He actually has less resources than his opponent right now. And I'm not sure this base is really all that guaranteed, honestly. Once Clem takes this base, his 6 o'clock, it's kind of a difficult task for her to keep theirs. Attack off of creep. Oh, with the fungal from behind, though, and that is a damn good fungal. Lots of Baneling collisions. About half the army able to get picked up as the fungal faded. It's better than nothing. That fungal was from downtown, man, across the pillar. Nidus Worm is going to try and provide some forward reinforcements. It's always a good idea. Not going to work in this particular case. Lurkers will have to wait again. There was an attempted Nidus Worm in the back as well. That was denied. So far, Clem not even allowing the opportunity for the Nidus Worm to threaten him. More ghosts. What kind are we up to? Almost 11. We got the building armor on the way. High Cicada tracking is already done. Lib Rage as well. +2 armor for the Libs too. And I will absolutely want to be seeing more Liberators in play. And there we have it. 3 on the way. Very awkward, very awkward. Didn't realize the lurkers had popped out. Absolutely could be taking care of that when he was paying attention. He just wasn't paying attention. And I gotta say, I still feel like better for Clem overall in this type of game. But Reynor really is trying his best to turn this around. Nidus Worm goes into the middle of the base. Sometimes the most obvious space is the least detected something, but not this case. This is going to be responded to. Not a lot of units that actually attack, though, structures, which is funny, but yeah, there we go. Meanwhile, Reynor was actually eyeing the south, but there is just enough units actually to dissuade him from pulling the trigger. Maybe not anymore, though, especially if Clem isn't paying attention, and Clem was not paying attention. Banelings and friendly fire from the Woodamines helping to kill the bio, as well as the Ghost. This will be a successful push-in. It will kill a Planetary, it will kill some SCVs. It did kill a decent number of expensive units, but it's not the end, especially if Clem can hold the line, which apparently he won't, and this is now going to be a little concerning. Nidus Worm taken care of, and the rest of the army is trying to respond at this point, but they were certainly slow to it. Not exactly the killing 1-2 punch there from Reynor, but dangerously close to it. Dangerously close. Now, Woodamines also being a little miscontrolled. Fortunately, not enough Banelings to kill them. Nidus Worm did at least get 2 lurkers into the main base of Clem, which is awfully annoying, but easily handled thanks to a couple of units already being in that main. I say easily handled. I mean, it is, but it's still annoying. 23 workers went down. Planetary went down, but is immediately replaced. And the SCVs could be replaced if Clem wanted to, but it seems like he is deciding to keep his SCVs at a count of 55. Very odd scan right there. I think that was just a mistake. Probably moving too fast. Lurker finally cleared up, and he knows the attack. Oh no! That wasn't a couple of Woodamines! That was his army! Oh, the Shark Fester grabbed his army! I thought he was just detecting that incoming force, but that was his actual army, guys. He has no ghosts. He has some army, but where the hell is it? Reynor actually defeating Clem in one of the most Clem-type games we'll ever see. You know, like, he got to the controlling position. He got even to a superior economy at some point. He got to the technology, the upgrades, much faster than his opponent. But Reynor was able to find his weak points and abuse the hell out of them, and Clem, not going to recover very easily at this point. He needs this base, and he is going to be denied the opportunity to get it. It's no more gold to really work off of, and he is missing that crucial comeback element, which are the ghosts. The ghosts are not here. Can he win with pure bio against this? Probably not. He needs those revenge snipes. He needs those EMPs. That is going to be it. Reynor now leads the series 2-0. Could be the last game on hard lead. Top left, it is Reynor. He's up 2-0. And bottom right, we have Clem, who I thought was in prime position to win the game. Game number 2. Game 1, very, very good decision, strategy, execution from Reynor. It was a what are you going to do type of game. One that is best for the loser to just go, okay, you got me. The second game, though, I would say actually did 100% get into the Clem-favored position, which is him much faster upgrades. Not faster expansions, but he got to a similar number of expansions at some point. You know, he got set up on his side of the map, so we didn't have to worry so much about it. At some point, there was some tuffle and, you know, not tuffle. There was some... Why can't I think of the right word? There was some things that happened before that, but at some point, scuffle. That's what I'm trying to think. There were some scuffles. There we go. That were happening. But then at some point, Clem was on his own 5 bases, planetaries everywhere, ghosts, superior upgrades, and, you know, control of the map. And I really thought that was his best position to win the game. But Reynor, he found the opportunity. He found the weak point that led to the weak point that led to the weak point. And it was, I would say, still primarily thanks to the Nidus Worm, actually. Looking back on the situation, I think if the Nidus Worm wasn't such a big distraction, Clem has so much more army on that 6th base, the bottom left one, that Reynor doesn't see an opportunity to pounce. Because it actually kind of happened in a very clear way, I suppose, like one of the clearer ways it can happen, which is Reynor Nidus Wormed, the army came to respond, his main army checked the 6th, said, okay, that's an okay number of units, and then it saw that the army still was up in the main, and then so it was like, okay, I can take on that army to the 6th, because that was when I was like, oh, it's enough army to defend, I guess, but then Reynor just went back at it as soon as he was ready. And without the Nidus Worm, yeah, I just don't think there's so much army that's distracted and away from the front lines, and it certainly doesn't snowball. Maybe he still gets that one hit, the surround, and that sucks, but... It also kind of started with a fungal, too. I kind of forgot about that. It was the fungal, Nidus Worm, check, and then double down on the attack. Yeah. That pushed the dominoes. So even if the bio that was left there gets destroyed, it doesn't lead to the Liberators also dying. It doesn't lead to the Planetary dying without any repercussions. And there's just a bit more of a chance for Clem to recover. But that's, I think, the real secret, honestly, at this point for Reynor defeating Clem is insistently finding the weak points and then finding a distraction with the weak point. You know, it's like, well, that's what you do in StarCraft, ZombieGrub. That's not really a smart thing you're saying right now. But I guess, as opposed to some other games in which there's like a really good tug of war, there's maybe one distraction or one run by that has a decent amount of damage, and then it's more about the control of the front lines. It seems a lot more about Reynor being able to set up a potential tri-pronged attack with a variety of different units as well. So you have to, as the Terran player, kind of be mindful of what units you're sending where. And then finding it so that Clem is also too spread apart to even react fast enough. Even if he can physically react fast enough, his army can't. And that is only going to happen really on larger, not maps, but larger, later stages of the game, where you have more space to cover because you have 6 bases. Some maps are actually, I think, easier to kind of deal with that type of stuff than others, and Hard Lead might actually be one of them, just because you have 5 bases that are pretty central, but we've seen Reynor even take advantage of the same setup before on this map. Nidus Worm in the main, attack on the 3rd, hit on the 6th, 5th, but it is a shorter response time from Clem's main to his 5th in that last map. So I guess what I'm actually thinking is that Reynor kind of actually gets a power spike once Clem has 6 bases, weirdly enough. That seems to be what's happening, because I feel like I say often, like we're in a late game, we're in a macro game, Clem's got all those pieces, Reynor is getting to an Nidus Worm, is getting to Lurkers, but I'm not sure that's really going to be good enough. But then he uses it really well to position Clem. Unfortunately, I guess. You know, you have to respond to the Nidus Worm, you have to respond to your 6th and your natural, and that's so far apart from each other. So it's a weird thing to think, because, you know, I think you see 10 ghosts, maxed out bio, 3-3, Terran, and you're like, oh, okay, Zurich, alright, good luck there. But actually, it does start to really pull the Terran player apart. Enough about that last game. It is Henley and Banshee, and the 3 queens directed over to the right to creep spread are a little vulnerable. 3 does seem to be the magic number, and not just planting creep spread all willy-nilly either. So we all know at this point that the queens are split into 2 control groups for left and right creep spread, and then injects happen, of course. But I think what also is something you might not pick up on is how much transfuse energy Reynor still has stored. He's not just planting 8 creep tumors because he can, because it's what he does, because he's so twitchy. No, he has transfuses, so instead of all 3 queens dying right there, only 1 died. They're very quickly replaced. Banshees had to go back and repair, actually, to really be all that useful. And so Clem decided to go for a more direct attack to try and take advantage of that, as opposed to trying to maybe attack in the 3rd with the Hellions, attack in the 4th with the natural with the Banshees. And his main attack, if you will, his direct attack, didn't actually work. Really. Not that it's the most important thing of the game. Actually, the most important thing is that Clem is moving on from that stage, but then also Reynor is going for a 1-run roach all in, which is pretty it's maybe the most popular map for it. It doesn't always happen on this map, but I would say it's the most popular map for the 1-1 Roach All-In. Reynor's not really well known for doing this. This would be something that Clem would be already defending against if he was facing Dark. He would already have tanks. But he is facing Reynor. And thus far, he has seen no roaches, I think. I think that is a true fact. Really nice hidden away structure. What was this? I don't know what that was, but it's canceled. So Clem has no idea. And if he saw any amount of roaches, if he saw one roach, he would have produced 2 tanks at least, and then gone into Widow Mines. But he has no idea, and Reynor might just get 2 kind of strategic wins, and then just a straight up mechanics win. As I am feeling the strategy win right here in game number 3. This army is going to take what it can get, which are the queens, but ultimately having your army found, and the first thing that found the roaches as well, is not a good thing. And that wasn't even all of the army. Some of the roaches actually went ahead and started killing SCVs of the 3rd, jumping on top of any units that might have been there. Tank production starts up, 1 factory obviously very vulnerable. Banshees cannot be taken care of. The queens died, right? And that's why Clem was pretty insistent on killing them. But the Banshees will not be a full defense. There's got to be more to it. Marines are stacked up in the high ground at this point with their 1-1 and combat shields, and they're kind of feisty against the roaches that are dwindling in numbers. No! Oh, it wasn't me. Poor Cosmos. Just left immediately. Fortunately, I guess there wasn't any super specific micro that had to be done, so maybe not the worst time to drop out, but not ideal either. I think what we had there was Reynor probably about to corrosive bile, and Clem was probably gonna jump on top of the roaches exactly like he did in an attempt to try and nip this before the reinforcements come through, but it's not really happening. The reinforcements are here. The Ravagers might still die on the front lines, but 60 supply difference. 4 CCs, yes. Production still intact, yes. Tank actually not in range of a corrosive bile. That is great, but we even have a contamination on the 1 working factory. And that 4th command center is going to burn down by the looks of things. Reynor coming in hot with another surprise 3-0 victory. Doesn't happen often, but every now and again, Clem just has a really cold finals for an otherwise strong EPT weekly run. That's going to be it, guys. That is a 3-0 Reynor. Really like the strategies this game. It's not just the strategy that gets them, it is the execution. The fact that his Lings were really insistent in the first game on getting run-bys that were unseen. They went the top right before actually entering into the field. That was really good. And in game 3, I think he did a wonderful job of hiding the fact that he went roaches, and it is still uncharacteristic for Reynor. Although he can do this build, obviously, he's on a Dark. Dark does this every single time. Clem builds tanks against Dark every single time. Clem being behind 2 games, looking for his primo game, is going to go into Widow Mines. That's his perfect situation. So Reynor took absolute advantage of that. So GG's. Really well played by Reynor. And that's it, actually, for the Open Cup. Thanks for sticking around, guys. If you were watching the GSL groups earlier on, everything's going to go up on YouTube as usual, and I will see you guys later for more StarCraft 2. Bye. Not exactly a finals worth waiting for, I guess, but there's always a chance. That's going to be kind of meh. I think there's an equally good chance they're actually really, really good games. Not this time. Yeah, that outro was for YouTube. On an outro for Twitch as well. As I said, if you guys are sticking around since the GSL group, much appreciated. I will be back tomorrow to cast GSL Group B. And like I've been saying, everything is going to go up on YouTube.